Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to episode 215 of the Garage Beers podcast, brought to you proudly here on the OBR streaming network. I got a frozen Chad face. Is this me that's frozen?
No,
Chad, am I frozen or are you frozen?
I'm frozen to you.
But can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. You look great.
Oh, all right. I'm concerned because I'm in a hotel with really shitty internet, and we're going to just see how this goes. So, episode 215 is kicking off with we'll see what happens on this show and if the internet will allow us to do this. But we are back after a week off. Last week, Joey and I were in Seattle. Joey unable to make it again this week. Where'd you even go, Chad? There's Chad's porch. Looks nice. We are back with a great episode, and we're just going to kind of play catch up here tonight. And I'm really excited for it because when you're used to catching up and talking week in and week out every single week, you don't miss a lot of stuff. And yet, when you take 1 week off, it feels like we've missed everything, Chad. It feels like there's so much stuff that we've got to catch up on. And we're going to do that on this episode here tonight on episode 215. So welcome on in. Again, we're here on the OBR streaming network. The OBR is your home for the best Browns coverage in the land. Make sure you're tuned in to the OBR everywhere you can be, whether it's at theobr.com. Make sure you're subscribed over there, or whether it's here on the OBR streaming network, where obviously we're back on the YouTube channel. We got the Twitch channel. You can catch us on X or Facebook or Instagram or wherever you decide to catch us. But make sure you are tuned in to everything the OBR is doing. And make sure you are tuned in to the Garage Beers podcast on all the socials as well, at the Garage Beers on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff. Hang out with us as we do all kinds of fun Garage Beersy kind of stuff. So tonight, joining you are the two of us. First, I am Michael Keefe at Garage Beers Mike, and joining me over on the east side of Cleveland from the porch on a beautiful night there in Cleveland, it's Chad Meyer at Garage Beers. Chad, what's up, Chad?
I really question Joey's commitment to the podcast. I mean, listen.
Start talking about this.
We're conference in LA and Garage Beers. Yeah, you can make it. What are you doing?
Typical.
Yeah. What the fuck are we gonna watch tonight? Are supposed to watch? Like it feels like,
Ooh.
like for as much as we've caught up or missed, like. We're all caught up on everything at the same time on this Tuesday. Like, there's nothing to watch. I mean, I guess if you like college baseball, right? Like, I don't know. Both finals don't start till Saturday. What are we doing? What are we supposed to watch?
But you go from this. It's one of the saddest times of the year, except for the fact that, the Guardians right now are 1 out away from getting a tremendous win over the Royals in a game where they went down 5-0 and they scored 8 unanswered runs. We'll see. There's a runner on second. Nope, Bobby Witt just struck out. So that is the end of the game. So the Guardians get a huge win tonight. The Guardians actually make this bearable because otherwise, if the Guardians sucked this year, dude,
Yeah.
In years where Cleveland baseball stinks, this is one of the worst times of the year because you just got done. It kicks off with like March Madness, and that drives you right into the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs and opening day and baseball. And you got all this great stuff going on. And then you hit this time and you're like, oh God, it's almost over. And then it's just baseball until football starts.
Right.
It's tough.
Luckily, and the Guardians usually have this like 4-month grace period to really like hook Cleveland fans, right? Because when Brown season starts, like you said, if Cleveland baseball stinks and then Brown season starts, the Guardians season might as well be over in Cleveland's eyes if Cleveland baseball stinks and Brown season starts. But with the Guardians being so good, here we are, man. Let's go.
Here we are. I know. I was thinking about that too, Chad. I was like, man, we are at baseball. You know, the hard thing for me at this point in my life about baseball too is I think this might stink. I'm a huge baseball guy, but I think it's the sport that I care the least about other teams. Like, I love watching the Guardians, man. There's not a lot I like more than like sitting out by the fire outside, or like you're doing, sitting out on the patio. You got the Guardians game on, you're having a beer. I love summer nights with the Guardians.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I don't give two shits what the Texas Rangers are doing, or the Boston Red Sox, or I don't care. I don't want to, like, they'll do Sunday Night Baseball and it'll be like big matchup between the Cardinals and the Marlins. And I'm like, I don't give a shit about that. That's, to me, that's the hardest thing about the baseball season is I just don't care what the other teams are doing.
Which you probably would give more of a shit if the games were meant something, meaning the season would be shorter.
Oh, God, 162 is just,
Yeah.
again, preemptive cheers to everybody that decides to buy a full season ticket package to a baseball team, any team, Guardians, anywhere, because I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you go to 81 games. I don't know how you do it.
You can't. You can't.
But Chad,
can't. Who has that kind of time? I mean,
who's got that time?
Obviously,
who's got the time?
Who has that kind of time?
I know. Well, listen, I'm really excited to be back. If you missed it last week, Chad did a live stream on Instagram. We had a good time. Joey and I checked in from the grill out in Seattle, but just kind of checked in and did a little quick live Instagram live. And now we are back, and the schedule is packed for tonight's show. We've got the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals kicking off. We'll do our previews of those. We will do a Guardians chat. There's a little Browns chat I want to get into. And then there's some national stories and national headlines that we want to touch on as well. So we'll get into all that tonight here on the Garage Beers podcast. By the way, if you're joining us live here tonight, be like our buddy Drew in Brick City and jump in the comments. What's up, Drew? Good to see you, man. Always, Drew. Every week, it's good to see you. Every week, it's good to see you. Be like Drew. Jump in the comments. You guys can be a part of the show. Let us know what you want to talk about. Let us know your opinions. We'll bring them up on the screen. We'll bring you into the show. If you're not joining us live, remember that you can always catch us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Or look, there's a cat. There's a cat behind you, Chad.
See, cat.
No.
Cat. I said cat.
No.
Who's a cat?
No. Bad. I thought it was a lion for a minute. I thought it was a lion.
I wish.
If you're not joining us live here tonight, like Sean here, what's good, Sean? Check us out on the podcast version on Apple or Spotify or wherever you catch your podcasts as well. We appreciate your support everywhere. So, Chad, before we dive into the topics of the night, it's time for us to get into our favorite segment of the night, and that is our Garage Beers of the Week. And it's been a couple weeks. Chad, you held down the fort last week, so why don't you lead us off this week? What's your beer of the week tonight? We're done with Michigan, right? We're done with Michigan.
Done with Michigan. Done with Michigan. Done. Finito. It was a great basket. Had a lot of variety in it. No repeaters. It was great. But now, I just decided to simplify things tonight, Mike. I simplified it, and we're going with the Simple Times Lager.
Ooh.
Right here.
He's a simple man.
Yeah, it's simple. I'm a simple kind of man. Simple Times Lager beer, and basically this is a picture Coors Light, but you don't have to drink as many because this is a 6.2 Simpler Times Lager beer. Just a stronger Coors Light. That's basically what this tastes like.
That'll get you rolling. All right. It's a simple time. Look at Chad out there on the porch, just being simple. It sure is.
It's what a night it is. This is my favorite. This is my favorite. You talked about it, Mike. This is my favorite thing about summer, right? Because at night, right here,
sitting outside,
9 o'clock, summer night. The temperature is perfect, right? It's not too hot, and it's just perfect. It's just cozy. It's like a warm blanket, even though you're fucking sweating your ass off.
I have a very important question for you, and that is, where's your influencer light at? Didn't you get it? You got an influencer light. Where's your influencer light?
Where is it? It's around. It's downstairs.
It's supposed to be on your face.
Yeah. Well, listen, you got this beautiful lighting that right now that you look like
you look like an Oompa Loompa.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did tan a lot. I have gotten a lot of color over the last 2 weeks, Mike, so I might look like an Oompa Loompa.
I was going to call you a Trump, but I thought we should avoid that.
Wait. Well, all right. Hold on. All right. Here we go. Well, if I look like an Oompa Loompa, here we go. Like, Oompa Loompa. Mike, what is your beer? You better introduce it right now.
that was actually really good.
Yeah.
So I am in Maryland. I'm about 20 minutes south of Baltimore. And we went to a great brewery. What?
I don't know. You're just always on the road. Like your TikTok Was it your TikTok or was it Cavaliers recap? I don't know whatever one it was. And you were like, we went to Chicago, real quick trip to Chicago for Mother's Day just to get out of the house. And I'm like, Mike, even when you're in your house, you're out of the house. So it's like
what I should have probably said is to get my wife out of the house. Get my wife out of the house. That's the distinction there. I would love nothing more than just to be in my house.
It made me laugh because I was like, oh, what? And here you are again. I mean, you just got back from a Seattle vacation and you're back on the road.
I've already been on 2 trips since the Seattle vacation, Dad. I was in Pittsburgh at the end of last week, and now I'm here. It sucks. I'm here just about 20 minutes south of Baltimore in Columbia, Maryland. We found a great brewery tonight that I think the food was better than the beer. The food at this place was awesome. It's called Jailbreak Brewing Company.
Ooh, I like that name.
And it's here in like the South Baltimore area. And I couldn't not pick this beer up because it's a cream ale, and I love a cream ale. Yep. My favorite cheap beer is a gin and cream ale.
Yep.
But it's called the Cream, and that's it. It's just called Cream. But check out the logo.
Oh, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
But it's on a cow for some reason.
Okay.
It's on a cow.
Sure.
It's on a cow.
Okay.
And it's the Cream. Yeah.
Okay.
And this beer.
Interesting.
And I wish Joey was here because he would be so proud of me tonight.
Beer is more about the can art these days. So what?
I agree. Joey would be very proud of me tonight because look what I brought.
Oh, the Garage Beers glass. Let's go. Oh, you can? Yeah. Let's go.
Not drinking it out of a weird hotel glass that has herpes.
Let's go.
0 herpes for me today.
A conscious effort to not get herpes.
I mean, I feel like I make that effort on a daily basis, but
yeah, but not with your hotel beers usually.
Oh man, and this beer we kind of both went lighter beers. I think this is a 6%er. It's crisp.
Sure.
It's a cream ale made with vanilla, so there's a little. It's not heavy vanilla, just a little vanilla taste to it. It is awesome. And again, if for some reason you ever find yourself in the like Laurel/Columbia, Maryland area, and you need dinner, Jailbreak Brewing, they had an 85-day dry-aged cheeseburger.
Come on.
And it was unbelievable.
Come on.
It was a $25 cheeseburger, and it was worth every penny.
I'm sure it was. Sure it was.
Every penny.
What did it taste like? What was the difference between that and like a regular cheeseburger? Because I bet you a lot of people have heard like dry aged beef, but like, what does dry aging do?
Yeah, a little bit more. I'll just say this: with the way it was cooked, the crust of the burger just had more flavor to it. Like the outside, the crust of the burger had more flavor. All right. And the inside of the burger was just good. But man, it was good. It was great. So shout out to Jailbreak. Shout out to a great beer. Those are our garage beers of the week. Let us know. I saw Drew in Brick City over here cracking open a Busch.
Let's go.
Wait, are we talking a Busch Heavy? He didn't put the light in there, so should I assume Busch Heavy?
Let's go. Either way, he's heading for the mountains.
Cracking a Busch. Let us know what you're drinking tonight as you're hanging out with us. We'll put it up on the screen. But to all of you joining us, cheers, Chad. Cheers, buddy. And let's get into some topics. And I didn't know where I wanted to start. But I thought with it being such a big week, and we've already gotten started the baseball talk. With it being such a big week, I know it's early in the season. It's only it's only June 4th.
Sure.
But the Guardians are facing their biggest series of the year so far because when the Guardians went on that 9-game winning streak, the team that kept up with them all the way was the Kansas City Royals, who matched it with an 8-game winning streak.
Right.
The Royals have been nipping at the heels of the Guardians all season long. And the Guardians and the Royals are two very similar teams, just extremely young, extremely talented, just building from, within and kind of doing it in a fun way. And the Guardians and the Royals kick off a series this week. They kicked it off tonight. And Chad, I don't know if you were paying any attention to the game, but I said it before. Bobby Witt hits 2-run homers. The Royals jump out to a 5-0 lead.
Right.
But then the Guardians just claw back. And Tyler Freeman ties it in the 7th inning with a 2-run homer. They score more runs off of Lugo, the pitcher for the Royals, than anybody has scored this season. and then the Royals make a horrendous error in the field, a 3-run error basically on a David Fry ground ball because apparently Bobby Witt forgot that there were 2 outs. So he tried to turn a double play by himself and he didn't get anybody out.
Yeah.
And he threw the ball into the stands. The Guardians score 3 and they score 8 unanswered runs to get the win. Chad, when you get to this point in a long season, it is kind of fun to have a series that feels like it has some meaning to it, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's I hate to beat a dead horse, but I always talk about this. You gotta just enjoy the moments in the early parts of a baseball season. Then when it gets closer, like after the All-Star break, end of July, August, you want your baseball team playing its best baseball. But the fact that the Royals have hung with the Guardians so far this season, and really this is a series to see who can take over the division right now. And this is a chance for the Guardians to put some distance between them and the Royals. So to have a series that actually means something here so early in the season, of course it's exciting. Of course, Guardians fans, this is something for Guardians fans to get into because, like I said, to be able to increase their lead over them in the division, this is a big series for the Guardians, and a series, certainly a series that fans should pay attention to because, we want to keep the division lead the entire way. I mean, that would be ideal. And the fact that they were able to come back against a pitcher like Lugo, who's having a terrific season,
unreal
so far, speaks volumes of where this offense is at. I mean, I know it's been exciting so far through this entire year, but to go against a pitcher who's having, I mean, an all-star, maybe even a Cy Young type campaign right now, to do that against a guy like Lugo, I mean, that speaks volumes of where this offense is at this season.
Man, the Guardians, again, you don't want to do too much of this early in the season, but they've extended their division lead to 5 games at this point in the season. They're one of only 3 teams in baseball that have hit 40 wins on the season.
Right.
And I think the craziest stat to me of all, Chad, is that there is only one team in baseball. There's only one team in baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies, that have scored more runs than the Cleveland Guardians.
Right. I know, right?
I mean, coming into this year, we had Rosie on to do our Guardians preview episode. And again, it's probably one of my favorite Guardians or interviews we've done because Rosie really gave us a lot of good stuff coming into this year.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how good this team could be with moderate success measures, just moderate jumps in success. And there's nothing moderate about what they've done so far. I mean, it's such an extreme difference. And listen, Aaron Williams, I don't think this is a good timing for this comment. Aaron Williams in the comments says that his fear is that the Guardians will be like the Pirates of last year. Listen, I don't think it's unfair to say that there should be a little concern that maybe the Guardians regress a little bit offensively.
Okay.
Oh, am I going out?
Okay.
What happened?
Mike's video is frozen.
But can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Can you hear me?
You're back.
Yeah. Listen, sorry about the internet tonight. It's just going to happen every now and then, but hopefully we can make it through another hour. I think it's fair. I think it's fair to be concerned about a regression. But again, for me, even if they regress a little bit, they're still going to be a really good baseball team. Like we were talking about how good they could be with moderate jumps in success. So even if they regress a little bit, you're still going to have those moderate jumps in success.
Oh, sure. I mean, again, you're gonna have to expect it losing 2, 3, 4 in a row at some point. It's just gonna happen at some point during the season. I mean, they just have to be able to avoid the major regression, and so far they've done it. Right? One of the main cogs that the Guardians have faced over the last few years, the Guardians and the Indians, is that they're a very streaky team. Right? They go on these runs. They'll hit well for 20 games, and they'll disappear for another 20 games, right? Then they'll hit well again for 15 games, and then disappear again for 20 games. They've avoided doing that. They've avoided doing that so far up to this point in the season. So, yes, are they going to go through struggles? Yeah, they're going to go through times where they don't hit. But
they've already done it. They've already been through a stretch of kind of blah baseball, and then they bounce back from it.
Right. And that's the biggest key is bouncing back. As long as they continue to bounce back, I wouldn't worry so much about the regression. I would not. As long as they continue to do that, yeah, it's gonna be fine. It's just gonna be your typical ebbs and flows in a baseball season.
Yeah, it's although I do want to say this, I got a comment from Larry. He likes the Chief Wahoo shirt. I do want to point out this is not a statement of any kind. This is this. I hate that that's where we're at because of the whole change. And you've got the two, it's like fucking everything in life now where people are just extreme about everything. I'm not saying this about you, Larry, by any stretch, but every time I wear this shirt, somebody comes up to me and they're like, yeah, Chief Wahoo, forget the Guardians. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No. That's not why I'm wearing this.
It depends. It would depend on how they.
That's a Joe Carter. That's a Joe Carter.
Let's go.
It's a Joe Carter batting practice jersey.
Yeah.
And I love it. And yeah, listen, the history of the Indians doesn't just disappear. And it's a team we rooted for a long time. And now they're the Guardians, and I'm super cool with that too. So it's not a statement. But man, it happened to me tonight. I'm going to tell you the story real quick, Chad.
All right.
So, some guy walks up to me and he sees the shirt at the brewery and he goes, oh, you're a Cleveland guy? And we're down here. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm from Cleveland. I'm from Ashtabula. I'm like, oh, cool. And immediately I can tell where this conversation's going. And I'm like,
he's from Ashtabula, so you should, yeah.
I'm like, I don't want this right now. I don't
There's
want
nothing to do in Ashtabula County but drink and touch each other. That's
again,
it.
this is not a political statement. It's not a state. It's just, this was my team. This is my favorite baseball player of all time. And I love the old batting practice jersey. So I wear it. But then he goes, he just starts going on and on and on. And my face must have been like, I must have looked so like I didn't give a shit about what this guy was talking about. He's telling me he's from Ashtabula. He's lived down here for a long time. He's wearing like a high school baseball. He's a big baseball guy. And he's like, yeah, I get back up to the area like 3 or 4 times a year. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, oh, you ever go to any games? And he goes, no, never been there. I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay, all right. Even though he came over to me to talk about baseball.
Since 1995, you've never been there?
He said I've never been to Jacobs Field or whatever they call it now, which is another thing. Why do people do that? Why do people do that with it's Progressive Field? Who gives a shit? Like, why do people always have to have the say in like, oh, whatever it is now, it's Progressive Field.
Well, it's so corporate. It's so corporate. Blah, blah, blah,
blah. But anyways,
this is another. I can't wait to get into this a little later down the road because can we just let sports be sports? But anyway, keep going.
He goes, no, never been there, never will go there. Don't even ask me to go to a ball game. And I'm like,
I wasn't going to ask you.
He goes, if you think I'm going to spend my money to watch somebody that gets paid $40 million play the game, you're wrong.
Oh, well, that's a whole different discussion.
So immediately my smart ass nature starts, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, man, that's pretty brave of you, man. It's pretty brave of you to take a stand like that. My face must have just been like, get the fuck away from me. Like,
oh, dude. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to, you aren't cool to me because you are, I don't know. Isn't a baseball game just fun? Who cares how much the players are making?
Sure.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I remember I had someone come up to me one time, or someone trying to talk baseball, that they said, man, seriously, these guys get paid all this money, and they like, if I bat 280, that means I'm only doing my job right 28% of the time. You imagine where I would go, like if I did my job right 28% of the time, and then I kind of just shut them down when I said, you know how hard it is to do that job right 28% of the time. The takes. Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. Like, can we just let sports be sports? It is what it is. It's just a distraction.
the guy at the end was like, "Well, I better head over to my table." I was like, "Great."
Later.
See you later. Bye. Listen. Sean said it here as we back onto the Guardians top 10 in homers, and I'm not expecting that to last.
No,
but. If they can be a middle of the pack home run team, and this goes back to the conversation we had with Rosie.
Sure.
And I'm hoping this is showing the Guardians front office guys that home runs are important. I don't know why there's a thing with the analytics sided people that they don't think home runs are important. But we talked about it with Tom Hamilton. We talked about it with Rosie. You can say home runs aren't all that big of a deal, but it literally in all of sports, it's one of the biggest swings in a game when somebody hits home runs.
Sure.
If your team can hit home runs, they can be competitive in every single game they are in because you are one swing away from something huge happening. Look at the game the other night. Who were they playing the other night when David Fry hit that 3-run homer late in the game that just put the game away, right? That it's so to me, the more I think about it, the more I think I realize that home runs are a critical part of winning a lot of baseball games and being able to compete for titles in Major League Baseball. And so again, I don't expect, just knowing this roster, I don't expect the Cleveland Guardians to be a top-level home run team all season. But, like, do I think they're going to finish somewhere 12 to 15? Yes. Does that mean they're going to be probably cruising along in first place for the entire rest of the year? Yeah, probably. If they just hit it that clip, they're going to be great for the rest of the year.
Well, it's clearly become a focus. I don't know. I don't want to say focus, but it's clearly become a major part of offense in Major League Baseball now. I mean, look at batting average, team batting average across the board in the major leagues. I think the top team batting average is like 252 or something like that. It's not. And then you see home runs, 75, 71, 65, 50. Home runs are a major part of offense in Major League Baseball now. So yeah, I mean, you have to have guys that can contribute in that area. If you're not going to hit for average, right? If you're not just going to try to drive the ball into the gaps, down the lines, whatever, you got to go for power because league wide batting average is down. So clearly, teams and team offenses are trying to hit the long ball.
Now, there's so many areas, Chad, with this team that I just want to give credit to the organization, right?
Yeah.
But I think the one that we can talk about that's most timely right now, their willingness, and it's been so refreshing because I didn't have a lot of faith in this, their willingness to just turn this thing over to the young guys.
Yeah.
When Ramon Laureano wasn't contributing anything meaningful to this team, they cut bait and brought up Manzardo. And again, it took an injury to Stephen Kwan to make some of this stuff happen, but they bring up Manzardo. When Florial is not contributing, they cut bait. And that's when Kwan comes back, and they've got Schneemann up, and it looks really solid. And they're cutting bait with some of the dead weight kind of guys they brought in on a flyer to see if maybe they could do something. They're realizing they're not doing anything early. They're getting rid of them, and they're bringing up these young stud players, and it's making a difference.
See, yeah, something clicked with this front office this year because remember they would hold on in years past. They would hold on to these guys way too long. I mean, way too long. I mean, and whether that was, and the arguments were, whether that it was like a years of control issue or I don't know that discussion goes deeper than my knowledge of what. How many years of control you have over a guy or whether you bring him up or not, yada yada. But the fact that they turned it over to these young guys who have been just raking in AAA or AA is paying off this year. But between Schneemann and Manzardo, Manzardo had a rough start, but now that he has adjusted to major league pitching, he's doing well. He's doing well now. And Schneemann, you had to feel good about Schneemann. That first major league pitch, he just rips a double. Down the right field line,
a two-run double,
a two-run double. First major league, you had to feel good. It was like it's like second only to Kevin Kuzminov. First pitch, grand slam home run. Even though that was really the only thing Kuzminov.
That was the end of that was the end of
that was it.
Kuzminov.
But you got to feel good about these young guys for sure. Absolutely.
No, it's and it's a good lesson.
Yeah,
it's a good lesson. And I think Manzardo is a good reminder that sometimes it's an adjustment and sometimes going from, and Manzardo didn't spend a ton of time in the minors, right? He's not an old dude. No. He was playing in AA last year before he came up to AAA.
Right.
Sometimes it's going to be an adjustment. And
Yeah.
man, some of the takes I saw online when that first week where he struck out a lot and didn't look very good at the plate, man, some of the takes were a little quick trigger, a little quick trigger.
You gotta give him
quick
time.
trigger. Because
Give him time.
And I still think he's adjusting, right? He's not like lighting the world on fire, but I
Right.
still think he's adjusting.
Sure.
And man, the promise that the kids show.
Well, and the fact that the Guardians are winning affords him time to be able to adjust.
Yes.
Right. You know, they can still, like, I mean, if the Guardians were losing and his bat, like his struggles would have stuck out more. But the fact that they are winning and that the rest of the lineup is doing so well, that's going to afford him time to develop and get used to the pitching.
So the Guardians sit in first place, 5 games up. They're one of 3 teams in baseball with 40 wins on the season, along with the Yankees and the Phillies. They've got one of the best run differentials in baseball. They've scored the second most amount of runs in baseball. Everything is going great for the Guardians. They've got a tremendous offense right now. And the bounce backs. Like that's been the other story of this year, right, Chad?
Yeah.
It's the Quan wasn't bad last year. He was one of the top. He had some of the most hits in all of baseball, but he wasn't as good as he was the year before when it came to just having an impact bat. His impact bat is back. Andres Jimenez's bat is back. And then you're still getting great performances from Jose Ramirez and from Josh Naylor, who hit a homer tonight. And David Fry out of nowhere. Dude, let's talk for a minute about David Fry.
Let's
talk for a minute about
He's
David
my man
Fry.
crush right now. Yep.
I read a tweet. If I can find it, I'll pull it up because I want to give the person credit.
All right.
The tweet was great. It just said David Fry is now just starting to feel like something I've created in my own head. And I was like, that's to me so perfectly sums up what David Fry is. I don't know. David Fry was like the backup catcher. And he's hitting 385 and he's got power and he's a monster. And he can play anywhere in the field.
Right.
Who is this guy?
I don't know, but I love that he's here. I mean, and he's some of these guys are just late bloomers. I think he's like 28 and he's finally getting a good shot in the majors, and he's making the most of his chances, man. 385. He's been raking since spring training. He has not slowed down since spring training, and he is so he is making it very hard for Stephen Vogt to keep him out of the lineup, and he shouldn't. He should not keep as long as David Fry is batting like this. You keep him in. I don't give a shit about his defense. His offense is going to make up for it.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And that's where you're at. You got 5 guys in this lineup right now that you can just count on.
Right.
Like that's and then you combine that with, and I think we talked about this when we had Mikey McNuggets on a couple weeks ago, but you combine it with, then there's always just one other guy that does something big in that lineup, right? Tonight it was Tyler Freeman with a 2-run homer to tie the game. And Tyler Freeman might not have another big hit for 2 more games, but he did that one tonight. Or it's Will Brennan with a bomb, or it's Bo Naylor getting a big hit. Like, or you got Schneemann up, and hopefully, I mean, I can't think of any reason that we don't just have him as our shortstop at this point, right? Like,
I mean, unless we trade for Bo Bichette.
Rocchio's fine. Rocchio's fine.
Yeah.
And maybe Schneemann's going to be more of a utility guy. I shouldn't say that because Rocchio's been good in the field. But again, Rocchio's another guy that he hasn't been great overall, but man, in moments, he's had moments. And this team just gets that offensive performance from where it's needed. The other element of this team that's just spectacular, this bullpen is outrageous.
I mean, wait, hold on. Unless we trade for Bo Bichette.
Well, okay. You want to talk about that for a minute?
I mean, Jeff Passan seems to have linked the Guardians to Bo Bichette if he's made available by the Blue Jays. And yes. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So maybe I'm gonna give a weird take here, but I would really want to feel that out.
Okay.
Like I want them to approach it and I want them to feel it out, but I want that to be felt out. Where'd you go? Did you just fall down? I want the process to be felt out because I don't want I would be a little bit nervous about bringing a guy in here that's going to want a contract that you're not going to have for a long time, and I don't want to give up. I heard people talking about like Chase DeLauder, the guy that is like the next guy that they expect to be a big bat in this lineup.
Nope.
Well, that's a name that's getting thrown around if you want Bo Bichette. Here's the thing: if we had a team like if we were the Yankees, and you're going to bring Bo Bichette in here and then pay him his next contract. Okay, then get rid of Chase DeLauder because Bo Bichette will be worth it for that contract. But for the Guardians, I don't. Are they gonna pay him? Because I'm not giving up Chase DeLauder to rent Bo Bichette. So again, I want them to. I'm all excited. I get all excited by the name. And I like Bo Bichette, and he's a tremendous player. But I'm not going to do a lot. Are you okay?
So I got up to let my cat in, and the mic dropped, and everything just fell apart. I just had to basically reconstruct my mic.
Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't want them to jump into it just because it's Bo Bichette. If it's gonna result in getting rid of like a guy like Chase DeLauder for a rental of Bo Bichette, I'm not really interested. I'm not interested.
But if it turns into a World Series championship,
I would do anything. I would sell it's a left nut situation for a World Series championship, right?
Sure.
Like we're in left nut territory.
Yeah, I say, but so are you going to care if it makes it into a World Series championship? Turns it into a World Series championship?
No. I listen. If they traded for Bo Bichette and they gave up Chase DeLauder in the deal, I think immediately I'd be a little pissed because I'd be like, oh God, you just got rid of like a guy that you're hoping could be a cornerstone type player for your franchise for a rental. If they won the World Series this year, I hope Chase is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I hope he's a Hall of Famer in Toronto.
Right.
And I hope he does well. I'll never care for 1 second. I'll never care for 1 second.
Right. For sure.
Not for 1 second.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying though. I don't know. I think if you are trading for Bo Bichette, I think you are of the understanding that it is going to be a rental. So and with that as a rental, I don't know if Chase DeLauder is in the deal. I don't know if Chase DeLauder is in that deal as a rental. Like, I mean, if you're talking long term and you're talking extension, and they're able to sign him to an extension, then sure, because Bo Bichette can be your shortstop of the future as well. So, I mean, if that's the case, then sure. But yeah, if we're talking just giving up DeLauder for a rental, I don't know. I'm not 100% certain that's the deal. I mean, I would get it if it was, but I'm not 100% certain that would be the deal to go for. And I think Antonetti and Chernoff know that, and they're really good at making deals like that. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Here's the thing. All right. So we're talking about the Guardians. We talk about this often. You add Bo Bichette. You already have one of the best defensive teams in baseball. And you already have one of the best offensive teams. You're going to get better in both of those areas, which is unbelievable. You've got the Cleveland Guardians bullpen is so good. It is like one of the best bullpens in years in Major League Baseball. The way this bullpen has come together, Nick Sandlin is getting the start tomorrow for the Guardians, but he has been almost unhittable this year. And then you've got these middle relief guys. Tim Herron's been good. And, just the rest of them. You get the couple setup guys that have been really good. And Emmanuel Clase has been unhittable.
Leading the league in saves for a reason.
But not just leading the league in saves, because he was like close to being a league leader in saves last year. But, man, he was hittable last year. Guys were getting to Emmanuel Clase. He also was leading the league in blown saves last year. Nobody's hitting him this year. Like, nobody is hitting Emmanuel Clase this year. He has been unbelievable.
Right.
The bullpen is amazing. So it brings us, Chad,
to
the area that is concerning right now for the Guardians, and that's the starting pitching. And we've talked about it, but now that we have evolved into this season a little bit, obviously the loss of Shane Bieber was devastating.
Yeah.
The Carlos Carrasco thing is not working out. Carlos I said it before the year, if he can be the guy that can just be kind of Mr. Steady and go for like 10 to 12 wins,
but
be steady throughout the year,
Sure.
I think he's okay. Right now, he is more of a loss guy. Like
Sure.
Carlos doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And so between that, I mean, you're getting unbelievable contributions. Tanner Bybee has been great. And why am I blanking on the other guy that they brought in? That the other B. Why am I blanking on a name right now? Who's their other guy that's like a veteran pitcher that's never pitched this well before in his life, except for this year he's great.
The guy who looks like Ben Lively.
Lively. Yeah, Ben.
The guy who got mistaken for Blake Lively, right?
Yeah, Blake Lively. That's right. That's right.
Sure.
McKenzie's been okay. He was okay tonight. He had a rough inning, but
Sure.
They need to address pitching. Yeah, I mean, if they're going to make a run this year, if they're going to really go for it this year, Bo Bichette's a very fun thing to talk about, but the pitching is where they have to focus their attention.
Right. Let me ask you this, right? So, you talked about, Bo Bichette rental, yada, yada, yada. I mean, if they go for it, which they usually do, if they're in contention, there usually are buyers at the deadline.
Yep.
Isn't anybody they get really going to be a rental since they don't pay for guys, since they don't pay for, premium dollar to the premium players? So isn't anybody they get going to be a rental? So don't you just kind of have to accept that? I mean, I know you'll be pissed. I'd be pissed too. But don't you just kind of have to accept that? Like, you're going to have to give up these guys to get somebody if you want to go for a World Series.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, obviously it depends on the contract of the guy that you're bringing in, right? If you bring in a guy that still has 3 years left on his contract, he's not a rental.
But yeah, I doubt they would trade for a guy like that, though, especially if he's making top dollar.
No, I think, again, it to me, rental just means it's a guy at the end of his contract, and it's Josh Donaldson or it's Eddie Rosario. It's the
Sure.
guys that you didn't really expect to be back, even though I think Eddie Rosario was. But it's the guys you didn't expect to be back. Jay Bruce. It's the guys you don't expect to be back next year. It's the rentals. If you get a guy, even if you get a guy with another year or two on his contract, to me, that's not a rental.
Obviously, I get that, but like, I just when you go, you just went through the list. How many guys have they traded for with that have years left on their contract? They just don't do that. They just don't.
It's hard to because teams aren't trading guys with 2 or 3 years left on their contract.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's just, I mean, if they go for it, which they are, I mean, you just kind of gotta have to accept the fact that it's just. I think you have to accept the fact that it's just going to be a rental, and you might have to give up your top guys to do it, to get a World Series ring.
Yeah, that's again, it's just where I'd be a little more careful there.
Sure.
Because you might not get Bo Bichette, but you could probably get some pretty good players to come in without giving up your top guys in the minors. I would rather have maybe a next tier down type of player and not have to give up your top guys than have 3 months of Bo Bichette, unless you can guarantee me a World Series.
And that's where we have to acknowledge like how amazing Antonetti and Chernoff are, because they always seem to make great deals like that. They always do.
Yeah, they're tremendous at the deadline, aren't they? It's wild.
They really are.
Yeah.
Bo Bichette joins the frat. Bro Bichette.
Dude, even the players they trade away in the years where they're not with, like the Savali trade.
Yeah. Yep.
You get Kyle Manzardo for him, and this dude is contributing to a winning baseball team right now.
Right.
And Aaron Savali, to the last time I looked, isn't doing much.
Right.
So even whether it's an up year or a down year, they always just seem to make the right deadline deals.
Right.
And that is awesome. So again, in my head, I'm going to have my eye on the pitching market more than I'm going to have my eye on the hitting market, because I think if you can bring in a really good starting pitcher, even as a rental, if you look at some of the bad teams that have a good pitcher and you can bring in a good starting pitcher on a situation like that, I think that changes the complexion of the team. If Lively can keep pitching the way he is, if Bybee can keep pitching the way he is, with sticks and one more really good pitcher, I think the complexion of the team is completely changed.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I was just talking about this with someone at work today. Yeah, I mean, starting pitching would be my priority at the deadline. But obviously, I mean, if you can add a bat like Bro Bichette, it'd be awesome. It'd be amazing.
All right. So the Guardians, again, get a big win over Kansas City. I do love it's one thing I love about baseball, the 3-game series, right? I love when your team takes the first game.
Yeah, 100%.
I love when your team takes the first game. Get that. The Guardians have been so good this year at just winning the series, right? They lost the last game against Washington. Whatever. All you got to do, just keep taking 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
just
who
keep
gives a
taking
shit?
2 out of 3.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing. I love that they went out and got the first one against Kansas City tonight. And they've got a chance to win the series tomorrow. And if they can win tomorrow, go for the sweep and just it's like what they're doing to Minnesota. I love when they beat up Minnesota.
Oh, yeah. I will say this. You said you don't really care about a lot of other teams, but I will watch, like if the Guardians aren't on, I will watch other games with like teams in our division just to make sure they lose. that's about it.
Just to root against them. Yeah. All right. So, listen, Guardians in a great spot, giving us all, again, as all the other sports wind down for the year, the Guardians are giving us something to really pay attention to. And I will say another special shout out. Cleveland's turning up for games, man.
Yeah, they are.
Cleveland's showing up for games. The Guardians are doing well in attendance. The numbers are looking up, and that hopefully is showing it's the chicken and the egg conversation, right? But when you own the Cleveland Guardians, hopefully this is showing you that, like, hey, do what you need to do to put a winning team out on the field, and the city's going to show up for you.
Right.
And do what you need to do to give the fans a little bit of faith in this team and how they're going to operate. And
please, David, play David Blazer. Is that his name? Right?
Dave Blazer.
Laser. And his fitness consigliere, Michelle.
Oh, what was the Russian girl's name?
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Ivana Stoyanovich or something like that. I don't know.
All right. We're going to move off of the Guardians now. We're going to talk about the 2 sports that are in their ultimate series. And we're going to start in the world of hockey, man. And holy shit, Chad, the Stanley Cup finals are set.
Dude.
The Florida Panthers took out the New York Rangers in pretty convincing fashion. And the Edmonton Oilers, in also very convincing fashion, take down the Dallas Stars. I think the 2 most unlikely outcomes that we saw. Listen, the Florida Panthers are a hell of a hockey team, but sure. I thought New York was going to take that because I just thought they were a better team. And to be honest with you, Chad, I don't think Edmonton is a hell of a hockey team. I think they have a hell of a line and a hell of a goalie. But they made Dallas look silly. The farthest north team in the NHL taking on the farthest south team in the NHL.
Yeah.
In Edmonton versus Florida, the 2 farthest teams that have ever met in a Stanley Cup final away from each other. And Florida, the state of Florida's 5th consecutive Stanley Cup final between the Lightning and the Panthers. Dude. What a doozy of a Stanley Cup final we got on deck.
I was 1,000% sure that the Stars were going to beat the Oilers. I was 1,000% sure the Stars were.
I thought they were going to maybe sweep them.
I
thought maybe a gentleman's sweep.
I was on the fence. I was very on the fence about that Rangers Panthers series. I thought that series could have went either way, and I thought it was going to go 7 no matter what. But the fact that the Oilers did what they did. And they did it with defense and goaltending, right? Game 7, the Oilers only had 10 shots on goal. They only had 10 shots on goal, but Connor McDavid, did you see that? Did you see that goal? Oh my God. That guy, you talk about taking away time and space in hockey, because that's how you play good defense, is taking away time and space in hockey. Connor McDavid doesn't need time and space. Connor McDavid just needs a tiny glimmer of light, and he will just split defenses and do what he does best, and that's cause damage. But what I was most impressed with was the way Stuart Skinner came back, because those first couple of games, he didn't look like himself. He was terrible. He wasn't focused. He was giving up rebounds. He wasn't good. He wasn't recovering well. But man, oh man, with those last 3 games of the series, he was locked in. locked in, laser focus, and honestly, Dallas offensively just got stagnant. Dallas did not adjust to what they were doing offensively, and Edmonton picked it up. Edmonton adjusted. Edmonton played more physical on defense, which is something that you don't see them from them usually. And yeah, they got in the mud with Dallas, and that's just something you don't see this Oiler team doing. And I'll tell you what, now on the other side, you're Florida, you're the Panthers. You just keep doing what you were doing. You just keep doing what you're doing. Last year, listen, the Panthers should have won the cup last year, but they were way too injured and way too hurt to win the cup last year. But what they do is they smother teams. They want to take you like in the back alley and just beat the shit out of you. They do, and that's exactly what they're going to try to do with Edmonton. So Edmonton is about to play the best team that they've played the entire playoffs, and they're going to need guys like Evander Kane. They're going to need guys like Darnell Nurse. They're going to need guys like Corey Perry to step up and get dirty and get in the mud. Keep these guys off of McDavid. Keep these guys off of Draisaitl. And they're going to have to match the physicality of the Florida Panthers, because if they don't, this is going to be a quick series. And yeah, I see Aaron's comment there. Skinner stopped. Yeah, Skinner was elite the last 3 games, and that's kind of the X factor for me. If Skinner is the guy that got pulled in the Vancouver series for Calvin Pickard, this series is going to go quick. But if Skinner is playing like he did in these last 3 games against Dallas, this thing is going 7 easily, because the Edmonton Oilers, like, they absolutely shocked me with the way they played against Dallas. But that's going to be Stuart Skinner is my X factor in this entire series, because the Florida Panthers don't need to change a thing. They don't need to change a single thing about their game.
No, it's always my favorite part. Again, hockey being the national sport of Canada, this is, I believe, the 7th time now since 2000 that a Canadian team has made the Stanley Cup final. The last team to do it was just a couple of years ago. The Montreal Canadiens made the final and they lost to the Lightning. But the Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup in a long time, and now they got a team in the finals with a shot to do it. I always pull, you pull for teams where you know people, right? And we got a friend of the show, a guy that you knew coming in, Doug Plagans, the voice of the Florida Panthers. He comes on with us every year to talk hockey, and so he always makes me want to cheer for the Panthers. But I dude, Chad, I feel the Canadian pull is just, the country needs it. The country needs it, Chad. The country needs it.
Yeah. It sure does. I mean, 1993 was the last cup that Canada had. So yeah. This is a team that's a nation that is starving for a Stanley Cup. So I'm hoping. My heart wants Edmonton to win so bad. Connor McDavid, the best player in the world right now, deserves a cup. Deserves to have a cup. But it's not logical to pick Edmonton. So, I mean, if you're asking me my prediction right now, I'm going to take the Panthers in 6. But if that comes to fruition, if Stuart Skinner continues to play the way he did in those last 3 games against Dallas, this series could turn. This series could turn. But Edmonton needs to take the compete level up a notch if they're going to if they're going to have any chance against the Panthers.
Yeah, my heart wants Edmonton. My head also says the Panthers. They're so good. I mean, the Panthers, they're so good and they're so deep. Yeah. And it's just unbelievable to me that for now a half a decade, some of the best hockey in the world gets played in the state of Florida.
Right.
And
OJ McDuffie's happy. Our buddy OJ McDuffie's happy.
OJ McDuffie's happy. Even longer. The Tampa Bay Lightning have been a beacon of really good hockey for
100%.
Almost 2 decades. But man, it just does show you. It shows you that in any sport, star power is powerful. When that McDavid and Draisaitl line is going right, Edmonton's hard to beat. When those guys are on the ice and they're scoring goals, Edmonton is hard to beat.
The thing is, you combine that with, and something I had no idea with, their penalty kill was at 95% in that Dallas series. Like through the playoffs at 95%, the best in the playoffs. That's something you don't see. from Edmonton. That's something you haven't seen from Edmonton since probably those early 90s teams. So, it's I mean, I don't know. 2006, they made the cup final. But yeah, I don't know if they played defense as well. But yeah, 95% on the penalty kill. That's just absurd for an Edmonton team.
I thought for sure that we were going to get together this week and talk about the Rangers and the Stars.
Yeah.
I wasn't for sure on the Rangers, but I
Right.
thought the Rangers were a little bit better than the Panthers.
Sure.
I thought we were talking about the Rangers and the Stars in the Stanley Cup final, and we're getting Edmonton and Florida, and I'm here for it. I'm so excited
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say Florida in 6. I'm going to say Florida in 6.
Yep.
That's going to be my prediction.
Same thing with me.
I want to just take a second here before we go over to our asshole of the week, Chad. I want to take a second here and just catch up. We did it on the Instagram Live, but we haven't officially done it on the show. But since the last time we aired an episode, the Blue Jackets have brought in the new man to lead their franchise, and that's Don Waddell. Waddell.
Waddell.
Don
Waddle.
Don Waddell.
Yeah.
From the Carolina Hurricanes, the man that was really the architect of the Carolina Hurricanes, a Hurricanes team that has been really nasty for several years now.
Yeah.
And they bring him in to kind of lead the charge for the program. So, Chad, now that has had a chance to sink in for a while, just talk about some of the stuff you've heard from Don Waddell and the direction you think what kind of feel do you have for the direction you think the Blue Jackets are headed?
I have so much hope for the future. I mean, this guy is basically known for turning around franchises.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes all the right decisions. He has an eye for talent. Just go look at his draft picks in Carolina when he took over the GM role. Just go look at his track record, and it's nothing but success. He won a cup as an assistant GM with the Penguins, right? He took over the Atlanta Thrashers, who. Yeah, they didn't win a cup, but they were consistently in the playoffs. And then you take a look at his time in Carolina, division championships, over 100-point seasons, right? Building a roster from the ground up
every year.
And it just this guy is just a walking success story. Yes, he hasn't won. He didn't win cups in Carolina. Whatever. This guy is just this guy knows his stuff when it comes to hockey, and I'm so excited to see what type of decisions he makes, because as of right now, again, all we have to go off of is his track record. But judging by that, I've never been more confident that this Blue Jacket franchise is going to be going in the right direction from here on out. I just haven't. He's meeting with Pascal Vincent tomorrow, so we'll find out more about the head coaching role. I know a lot of people, a lot of GMs come in and they want their own head coach, but we'll see what happens from there. That's the real work really starts now. In figuring out the head coach, figuring out the draft, figuring out free agency, yada, yada, yada. Yeah.
I think it has to give a shot in the arm to the organization if he meets with Pascal Vincent and decides that's his guy.
Right.
I mean, that's a shot in the arm. That's a confidence boost to Vincent. I mean, if they have a meeting and he goes, all right, you're my guy. You're the guy that's going to lead my hockey team. What a shot of confidence to Pascal Vincent. 100%. What a shot of confidence in the locker room for the players for Pascal Vincent to say, okay, this guy gets the nod. And so it'll be interesting. I think you hope. You can sit here and say, oh, I don't like what Pascal Vincent did here or there. But listen, man, for the second year in a row, the Columbus Blue Jackets were not very good. And they were injured like crazy.
Yeah.
And they had some wild things happen this year that just tanked their season.
Yeah.
But if you get the sign off from Waddell on Pascal Vincent, I think that would be amazing.
I mean, this is the same guy that hired Rod Brindamore. But this
is it. We're full disclosure. We are doing everything we can to maybe talk to this gentleman on the podcast. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Eventually have him. We will 100% have him on at some point. That's I can confirm. I can confirm that. I can't confirm a date yet. We are 100% getting him on the podcast.
In the near future, we will talk to the new head man for the Blue Jackets. But one of the things that I'll be real interested to hear from him is just the magnitude of taking a franchise that has not competed ever for a Stanley Cup
Right.
You could talk about how they've made the playoffs. You can talk about how they've won a playoff series here or there. But the Columbus Blue Jackets have never actually been a Stanley Cup contender since 2000. They've
Right.
never actually contended for a Stanley Cup. They've never been a threat to contend for a Stanley Cup. And I've said this a lot. And we deal with it in Cleveland with our teams. There's something extra that has to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
To put you over. There's something we talk about it when we talk about the Browns and we talk about the Steelers have to try to lose.
Right.
The Steelers were shitbags last year and they won 10 games and made the playoffs.
Right.
That's the worst Steelers team I can remember in 20 years. And they won 10 games and made the playoffs.
I know.
And in Cleveland, it's the best Browns team we've seen in 25 years.
Right.
And it felt like pulling teeth to even get to the playoffs. It just good teams, when you build that culture, it's hard to break the culture. Well, unfortunately for the Blue Jackets, the culture on the wins and losses side of things has been bad for 20 years, 24 years. So I'll be real interested to hear his take on, because he is a guy that's known to take programs from down in the dumps and build them up and recreate them.
Yeah, and he seems to think that this is not going to be a long-term fix. Like I was just judging by his original comments, he doesn't seem to think this is going to be a long-term fix.
You've got elite level talent on the roster at a lot of areas, and then you've got top draft picks. You've got a whole bunch of top draft picks.
Yeah,
you're about to add another top draft pick.
Right.
Like,
what are we doing here?
At some point, this can't be a long-term thing.
Right.
It's already been a long-term thing. It's already been a long-term thing. Now it just needs to be putting it together, right, Chad?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's the thing is, I mean, that's his main goal. How do we get this team to make the leap? First, the leap into playoff contention. Then the second leap is to Stanley Cup contender. So yeah, he's got to figure he's got a big job ahead of him. But I mean, when you look at everything that encompasses the Blue Jacket organization, he doesn't seem to think they're that far away.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out you would imagine the first domino is going to be either the retention of or the moving on from Pascal Vincent, and we should find more about that out in the near future. So yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's do our asshole of the week, and then we'll just kind of finish with. We'll turn everything else into quick hitters, and we'll just do little quick segments on everything else. But let's go into our favorite segment, or one of our favorite segments of the week, and that is our asshole of the week, where we just call out people who deserve to be called out for just being an asshole. And it could be a group of people, it could be a specific person, it could be a type of person, but somebody is just an asshole. So, Chad, who's your asshole of the week this week?
Did you save that picture to put up?
I'll just put it on my screen. I forgot about the damn picture.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
It's my fault. I'm stupid.
That's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Corey Harris.
Shit.
Corey Harris is a 44-year-old Michigan man who had a court date for a suspended license.
This is such a good story.
Well, of course, court date for a suspended license. He was allowed to attend the court date via Zoom. And so the judge and the prosecutor gets on Zoom along with Corey. Corey joins the Zoom call. And what is he doing? He's driving to like a CVS. He's like, and he's literally saying, "Oh, hold on. Let me stop.
Let me get parked. I just give me 2 minutes.
Give me 2 minutes. Parking." Mind you, he's trying to drive and stop at his court hearing for a suspended license. This judge is just going, why would he do that?
I love how the judge is like, this is for a suspended license, right?
Yeah.
He's goes, like checking with like the prosecutor, like,
yeah. And he like turns over. He goes, why would he do that? He goes, why would he do that? And he goes, well, okay, Mr. Harris has to turn himself in by 6 p.m. today. Like, what a dipshit.
Ooh, but there's layers to this, Chad.
Yeah.
Drew in Brick City said it was revealed that it was suspended due to an administrative error.
But
So
still,
it wasn't even suspended. Ooh.
but still, you're attending the court hearing, right? You still shouldn't do that. Because say something happened where like that administrative error turned into whatever. You still should be smarter than that.
I agree. If you're attending a hearing for even a question about a suspended license, you probably shouldn't be driving.
Why would you even risk it?
Probably shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. No, it's a very funny video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. My asshole of the week is a guy that could be the asshole of the week and any given week. And he's probably been the asshole of the week. So we'll see. Sorry, I just read. I'm over here reading the comments and I'm not talking. Jesus Christ, get your shit together, Keith. This is probably a multi-time asshole of the week, but my asshole of the week is Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah,
he's now on this. He's now on this. And I'm surprised it took this long. He's now on this kick of, I don't know if you saw what he did today, but there's this whole, and we're going to talk about it too, but there's this whole WNBA shit going on. And Monica McNutt, who's done Cavs games. Monica McNutt is a phenomenal play-by-play broadcaster for ESPN, who happens to be a woman. Stephen A. Smith took some digs at Monica McNutt and was saying that it was like, it's women's fault that women's sports aren't bigger. And Monica McNutt like kind of pushed back on him a little bit. And listen, that's not even the part of the conversation. Here's where Stephen A. is starting to go now, though. Stephen A. is starting to turn into the guy that has to act like he made you. Like if you were on a TV show with him, right? Monica McNutt was on First Take with Stephen A. So that's why she is what she is, because she was with Stephen A. And listen, there may be an element of truth to that because truthfully, Stephen A. is ESPN's number one personality.
Right.
It's him and Scott Van Pelt really are the two number one guys for ESPN.
Right.
And he's the highest paid guy for ESPN. And he brings in a lot for them, whether you like him or not. But to be verbalizing, he goes on his own podcast, he goes on these shows, and then he goes on his own show. And to be verbalizing that, like, he made Monica McNutt because she went on First Take with him. So the reason anybody knows who Monica McNutt is because she was on First Take a few times with Stephen A. Like,
come on, man. Come on. Stop. Can you just stop?
It's just cringeworthy, right?
Yeah.
The best people, again, it's the same story with everything. The best people are the ones that don't have to tell you anything. They don't have to tell you they're the best. They don't have to tell you they made you. They don't have to tell you that stuff. Usually the richest guy in the room isn't the guy who's telling you how rich he is. The smartest guy in the room isn't the guy telling you how smart he is.
Right.
And yet Stephen A. is the guy that's always telling you the superlative about himself. And he just is acting like an asshole. He's acting like an asshole. So he gets my vote for
fair enough.
And I will say, Drew in Brick City, Pat McAfee. Did you see the Pat McAfee shit about the WNBA?
I did. And
not great.
I kind of just. I mean, this is the white bitch comment. Is that what we're talking about?
It's not great.
Here's the thing: is like I get it. Like I kind of just get it from both sides. Like I get his intention behind it. But I also get why people are upset about it. I mean, I know
you got to maybe watch yourself on that one. Like, even though he's massively, I love Pat McAfee, and it doesn't change the fact that I love Pat McAfee. Even though he is awesome at what he does, you got to tone it every once in a while. You got to tone it back every once in a while. Pat McAfee's not beyond reproach. Like, you got to tone it every once in a while.
Yeah. No, like I said, I mean, I get it. Like, I don't want to say it's right, but I also get his intention behind it. Like, Pat McAfee wasn't like actually calling Caitlin Clark like a white bitch. Like, she's like in that context, but at the same time, it's a little bit of a sensitive issue these days.
maybe just watch that. Maybe watch it.
Right.
He came out and apologized for it, and I think his apology was great. But it's a tough one.
He doubled down on it. He doubled down on it on Raw, but
he doubled down on his intentions of what he was saying.
Right.
But the way he said it, he's like, I shouldn't have said it that way, which is right.
Yeah.
He should not have said it that way.
Right.
All right, those are our assholes of the week. If you got one that you want to put in the comments, like Drew and Brick City did with Pat McAfee, send it into the comments.
Yeah.
And we'll post it. But yeah, let us know who's being an asshole to you, and we'll put it up there. Chad, man, it's already 10:10. I feel like we just started this 15 minutes ago. Let's do quick hitters. And I've got 3 things that I want to hit on. I want to start in the world of the NBA because those finals are also coming up this weekend.
Sure.
And it's the Boston Celtics and it's the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
And Boston dispatched of Indiana in the fastest possible way. The Boston Celtics road to the playoffs has been laughable.
Man,
and then includes the Cleveland Cavaliers, who they played without Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell in like 3 of the 4 games or 5 games or whatever that they played.
And I'll tell you what, though, like, I don't know. I'm not the biggest basketball fan. Everybody knows this, but it feels like Boston outside of the Miami series, but it feels like in the Cavs and the Pacers series, it feels like Boston escaped more than they dominated. Even though if it was like, I know that sounds crazy to say in like a 5-game series win and a sweep, it feels like they more. Right. It feels like they're more like they escaped with those series. Not to say that they wouldn't have eventually won the series, but there were more games where in that series where it could have gone either way, and Boston just kind of persevered.
I think that's such a good way to put that. That's such a good way to put that.
Yeah.
Really.
I just that's my opinion on Boston.
And on the other side, you've got the Dallas Mavericks that have. I was trying to think of this. I'm trying to think of guys that have redemption arcs that match what Kyrie's redemption arc is currently doing, right? Like, I think the ultimate redemption arc is Mike Tyson in my head. Yeah, Mike Tyson's the ultimate redemption arc. He was the worst of the worst guy.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think sometimes we tend to forget some of the terrible shit that he did.
Right.
And he did terrible shit.
For sure.
But over the course of his life, all of a sudden, who would have ever thought Mike Tyson was going to be like, he's like a lovable, everybody likes Mike Tyson. Now. Like nobody doesn't like Mike Tyson.
Right.
And he's in funny movies and he's on roasts and like he's
punching
everywhere.
Helms.
Oh, he's everybody likes Mike Tyson. He's like the ultimate redemption arc.
Yeah.
So here's Kyrie, who forces his way out of Cleveland, so makes a villain of himself in Cleveland, which I still am not over.
Sure. Right.
Neither is LeBron. If you saw LeBron's comments today, he said he still hasn't gotten over the fact that he's not playing with Kyrie anymore. He makes an enemy of himself in Boston. He makes an enemy of himself in New Jersey or Brooklyn, New Jersey. Jesus. He makes an enemy of himself literally everywhere.
Right.
Right. And then he gets to Dallas and he just is doing everything right. And he seems to be enjoying the game of basketball again. And he's not making weird comments all the time.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Kyrie has become one of the best players in the NBA again.
Right.
And you match him up with Luka, and man, when those two guys, that team is so tough because they have a really good mix of kind of secondary players, contributing players.
Yep.
And then you've got Luka, who will carry you on most nights. And on nights where Luka maybe, or when Luka goes cold a little bit, or he's not having his best night, you got Kyrie that can also carry you. That what a hit! What an absolute swing for the fences and a hit for the Dallas Mavericks, bringing in Kyrie Irving, and they have sailed their way into the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I mean he's been one of the most talented. He's always been one of the most talented guards that have ever come into this league. I mean, you can't deny his talent. Outside, despite all of the weird shit that he says, despite all of his psychosis, despite all of it, despite everything that he's ever done outside of the game of basketball, he has always been one of the most talented guards that this league has ever seen. And the fact that it has appeared that he has put all of that aside and is just focused on basketball and is just focused on becoming a good teammate again. You see exactly what Kyrie. You're seeing exactly what Kyrie should have been after. Like, sorry, how can I put it? You're seeing exactly what Kyrie had as the idea in his head of what he would become when he left LeBron. Right? Like you're seeing that right now at age 31, 32. I don't know how old he is. You're finally seeing what he thought he was going to become when he left LeBron, and it's awesome to see. And the complimentary, like, they've got some nice role players on the Mavericks who are playing out of their minds or just doing their job perfectly, because when you have guys going like Luka and Kyrie, you don't really need to do much. You just need to play defense and get rebounds.
So here come the NBA Finals. It's Boston. It's Dallas. It's two teams that have. I mean, Boston was the best team in basketball all the way through the season,
right?
And then Dallas with a tremendous run through the NBA playoffs, and talk about two separate paths to get to the NBA Finals, right?
Yeah.
Boston. You don't want to take anything away from Boston, because even if you're going up against injuries or whatever, it's hard to win the 12 games that you got to win to get to the finals. Yep. No matter who you're playing or what you're doing, it's hard to win those 12 games.
Yep.
But even in the Pacers series, Halliburton wasn't playing in the games, and Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen were playing, and like they just ran into injury after injury after injury and walked their way into the finals. On the other side, it's Dallas that takes out, the darling of the NBA was the Minnesota Timberwolves in this playoffs.
Right.
Dallas takes them out, and they look pretty convincing in doing so. It took 7, but that game 7, Dallas was amazing. So I don't know, Chad. What are your thoughts here on this NBA Finals matchup?
Oh man, here's the thing. I think Boston is the deeper team. In my opinion, I think Boston has a lot more contributors on the offensive end of the floor. I just do. But man, I tell you what, Dallas has been playing surprising defense in these playoffs, and I think I don't see any reason that's not going to continue over here. But it's because Boston isn't exactly a shutdown defensive unit. So I think, honestly, I'm going to say Dallas in 7. I know that's probably not the popular pick, but I'm gonna go with Dallas in 7, just because I think they're playing the best basketball out of both of them. Like I said, I just the last 2 playoff series, it feels like Boston has just kind of survived it, and gotten through it. So I'm going to say Dallas in 7.
I think there's a couple things that are big in this series, and I think the biggest one is Kristaps Porzingis, who really revitalized his career in Boston, and he was great for them all season. I think it's the first time I can remember since he was with New York that he put together a season like he did this year with Boston. If he's back and healthy, I'm going to take Boston in 6. Yeah, because while I love what the Mavericks have done and what they've turned themselves into, I do not like the fact that Kyrie Irving is going to have to face Drew Holiday on a nightly basis, because there's maybe one other point guard in the NBA that plays defense the way Drew Holiday does. And he is so good defensively. And that's going to be a problem for Kyrie. Kyrie's going to have to work for everything he gets against Drew Holiday.
Yeah, well, and he does. I think if there's one guard that has the handles to be able to handle Drew Holiday, I think Kyrie Irving's that guy.
Kyrie's a better player. Don't get me wrong.
It's going to be an interesting battle to watch for sure.
And obviously, Luka's going to get his, but I just think if you've got Kristaps out there and he's feeling right, that adds an element that is something that's going to be really tough for Dallas to match up with. They've got a lot of youth in the front court front court. So it's going to be, they're going to have to know where to be at all times. They're going to have to be in the right place at all times. And I just think, even though Boston has kind of cakewalked their way into the finals, I think they're just a better team. And I see them taking it in 6 games.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I think Luka is a bit more slippery. Like, he's not the most athletic person, but he's very slippery in the way he does things. All right. You know, because you got a guy like Rudy Gobert, just like an all NBA defender on him. And you saw what he did to him. So we'll see. Well, it should be an interesting series, even though I'm not going to watch a single second of it.
Oh, I'm going to watch all of it. All right. 2 more quick things. One, I'm going to go to the Browns for a second.
Okay.
I want to hear your thoughts on this because I
white face mask. Love it. Done.
All right. So, the schedule comes out.
Okay.
And everybody starts doing their predictions. And, we're going to do the schedule game, but we wait until closer to the season because we're not stupid.
Sure.
We'll have Cameron Justice on, as we always do, to do the schedule game. It'll be 5 years of the schedule game with Cameron Justice.
Sure.
When we have her on this year. That's awesome. Dude, the average that I'm seeing for the Browns is people predicting them to go either 8-9 or 9-8.
What the
And
fuck?
I don't know what drugs these people are on. What drugs are these people on?
A lot of Molly, a lot of meth.
What about this offseason have you looked at and thought, well, they got 3 games worse? Or who around them got like, it's not like a ton of teams got better and the Browns got worse. What drugs are we smoking here?
Well, you know what it is? It's the drug of people just not having any faith in Watson. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. I mean, I
won 11
know
games with Joe Flacco last year.
I know that's ridiculous. I know that's ridiculous. But I think Browns fans are so jaded by what he did off the field that they just don't trust him.
I'm not just talking about Browns fans, by the way. I'm talking about the national when people are making their picks.
Well, yeah, that's what I think. I do. That's just what I think. I think they take a look at what Watson has done over these last 3 years in a Browns uniform, and they just don't trust him. They don't trust that he's going to be able to lead this team to what 8 or to more than 8 or 9 wins. I don't agree with it at all. But when I'm thinking of why they would actually think that way, I think that's the only logical answer in my mind.
Him?
Huh?
I don't trust him.
Well, sure.
He showed some great flashes last year.
Yeah, 100%.
The last time we saw him play a football game was exactly what we were hoping we were going to get when he beat the Ravens.
100%.
When he put the team on his back to beat the Ravens. That's what we all hoped we were going to get out of Deshaun Watson.
Sure.
But those moments have been much fewer.
That was Houston Watson. That second half of that fourth quarter of the Ravens game, that was Houston Watson.
That was full effect.
Yeah.
But at the same time, assuming he can stay healthy, even if people keep talking about, well, if they can just get 90% of what he used to be or 8, man, if they can get 60%, I want to just say Joe Flacco was good last year, but Joe Flacco wasn't that good. Well, Joe Flacco just did what he was asked to do on a good team, and he made plenty of mistakes. Yeah. If Deshaun can just come out and do what he's asked to do on a good team, this team is winning 12 games this year.
Well, I think that, and coupled with the number 1 toughest schedule in the league this year.
Okay, that's my other gripe. I'm gonna name a secondary asshole of the week.
Well, like I said, hey, listen, don't shoot the messenger. Like I said, I think that's why these people are giving that prediction.
Secondary asshole of the week, Chad, is talking about strength of schedule in June.
Sure.
What are you talking about? Like, not you specifically, but all these people are like, they have the toughest strength of schedule. No, they don't. Against last year's teams, against teams from last year, but all those teams from last year are going to look different this year. They're going to have different records. They're going to some of the teams that we think are going to be a pretty simple. I think a lot of Browns fans are talking about that Chargers game like it's going to be a win. That Chargers team's going to look a little different this year.
Yeah.
At the same time,
they're going to be running the power eye.
At the same time, they're going to be looking at some of these other teams that were good last year that aren't going to be as good as they were last year. Sure. So, like, Though I hate the strength of schedule conversation because until you see, you don't even know what your strength of schedule was until you played it.
Right. Exactly.
Because you're not playing the same. If everybody was just the same as last year, then we could talk about it.
Sure.
But they're not. So
Sure.
the Browns don't have the number one strength of schedule. The Browns just have a normal NFL fucking schedule.
Right.
It has always just eaten away at me when people bring up, oh man, so it's a tough strength of schedule. Fuck are you talking about? You could tell me all day about how tough their strength of schedule is, but I don't know who's one of the toughest games on their schedule.
Oh fuck, I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
You
have Kansas City in December.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes could be hurt for that game. All of a sudden, it's not that tough of a schedule.
Sure.
Or Lamar Jackson could get hurt, and all of a sudden, you got 2 games against a Baltimore team that isn't nearly as tough as they were 20 minutes ago.
Right.
I just don't like that conversation. To me, you look at the way the team is constructed, you look at the way they performed last year, and you go, okay, what did they add? What did they subtract? And where are we feeling like they're going to go? And to me, 11 wins is a baseline because that's what they did last year through injury and through all kinds of craziness. They went out and won 11 games last year. I think that's the baseline for this year. I'm not sitting here saying I think they're going to win 15 games, but I cannot imagine picking them to win less than 11 games.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was my gripe. That was my gripe about the Browns.
All right. You feel better?
I do. I feel
okay.
better.
Good.
Thank you for listening.
Good. You got that off your chest.
Thank you for listening. All right, now, all right, let's go to our last thing, and our last thing has to be the big national conversation. In all, it's really swept everything. All the national talk is about the WNBA, and it's about Caitlin Clark.
Yeah,
and it's about really 2 things. One, it's about the perception that people are giving her the credit for this incredible and new interest in the WNBA. And it's really her name that's coming up above all others. And then 2, it's about the reception that she is receiving, the very not warm reception she is receiving from her co-players in the WNBA, man.
Which is some crazy, petty, catty bullshit.
It's a pretty wild situation to watch play out.
It is a wild situation to watch play out. And this is what I said back earlier in the show. Just let sports be sports, right? This is as petty and as catty as it is. This is good for sports. This is good for the WNBA. Yeah. I mean, honestly, right? I don't know. You have the WNBA has its first generational superstar that everybody is paying attention to, and other players are jealous, and I understand why. And it's okay to admit that you're jealous. It's okay to admit that you're angry. I get it. I get it. But at the same time, you come off as jealous. You come off as a crybaby. But it's also good for the WNBA because the more you do that, the more eyes that are going to be on it. I mean, if this didn't continue, if this didn't continue, a lot of eyes would not be on it. But the fact that there's this, what do I want to say? The Caitlin Clark. Okay, Caitlin Clark is the biggest reason that a lot of eyes are on the WNBA.
Listen,
it is.
Let's. Yeah, I was going to say, let's be real honest about this.
Yeah.
All the stuff that these other players are saying, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark is.
It is.
It's not that other players aren't.
Right.
It's not that other players aren't contributing to the popularity that the WNBA is finding itself in, but Caitlin Clark is the catalyst.
Right.
She is the catalyst.
Right.
To me, what they're all doing is the equivalent of like when LeBron James came into the league.
No, exactly.
He also came in with Carmelo Anthony and Dwayne Wade and these other really good Chris Bosh and these other really good players. And
I was about to bring that up. Like, remember what like Carlos Boozer said when like LeBron came into the league?
Oh yeah, this is Carlos Boozer. Like this is my team. Oh, yeah. Okay, all right, Carlos.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll just go rip off a blind man. That's
great.
Right. No, it's anybody that's saying that it's not that Caitlin Clark isn't the catalyst is wrong.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. She is an incredible player, and she is an incredibly fun player to watch.
Sure.
And I don't know why we have an issue with this. I don't know why that's like a hard thing to say. She's an incredibly fun player to watch. And she is the reason for this. She is the catalyst. She's the number one reason for the resurgence.
Right.
And then like Angel Reese is constantly complaining about Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark lives in Angel Reese's head.
Yeah.
But Angel Reese does deserve credit because it was her rivalry with Caitlin Clark in college that is now carrying over into the WNBA that people like to watch. So Angel Reese gets credit. These other players get credit. But I will say this. I don't think the other players in the WNBA should like bow down to Caitlin Clark by any
Not
stretch.
at all.
I don't think they should. Frankly, I don't. We're going to get to a point where they're not all talking about her all the time. But they have to understand, like,
right,
life's about to get better for all of them.
Sure.
And Caitlin Clark is the catalyst. So maybe don't go chuck an elbow into her lower back for no reason.
Yeah.
Maybe,
I mean, the jealousy
don't be trying to like take her out in the middle of a game. Go at her. And listen, if I was a WNBA player, I'd be trying to make Caitlin Clark look like a rookie. Like that'd be the goal. I'd be physical, but I wouldn't be taking cheap shots.
Right.
I'd be doing my damnedest to make her look like a rookie. But I would also understand, like, she's a very important figure in the future projections of the league.
And in a lot of games,
let's not take out her lumbar spine. Like, let's not do that.
Yeah, and in a lot of games, she actually has looked like a rookie this year. She has had her struggles this year in a lot of games. And yeah, I mean, if you're a veteran player, yeah, you're going to see what she's made of. But like elbow in her spine, like when she's not looking, when the play is over, yeah, I mean, it's just bullshit. But also at the same time, I get it, right? Because why is she getting the attention that we haven't been getting for years, right? Caitlin Clark why is she getting 8-figure deals from Nike? And then obviously you come in. I get the jealousy, I get it, but at the same time, you're getting more attention than you've ever gotten. Your home arena is going to get sold out because of Caitlin Clark. So you're more eyes are going to be on.
They're moving arenas. They're playing in bigger arenas.
Oh no, I know, I know exactly, and that's the thing is, they're taking the wrong mindset with this because more eyes are going to be on you now, regardless of whether how you feel about Caitlin Clark. More eyes are going to be on you. So maybe, I don't know, maybe think about stepping up your game, stepping up your performance instead of punching her in the back of the fucking head and say she's a bitch. Like like Caitlin Clark's the only reason I've ever heard of Chennedy Carter or whatever the hell her name was.
Basketball, Chad. And I think you've complained about it, but it's something that I think is fine. Basketball in itself, the way the sport is played, is a superstar sport. Yeah. It is a superstar-driven sport.
Yes.
And superstars make leagues. And the more superstars your league can have, the more prosperous your league is going to be. And therefore, the more money you are going to make. Right. So invite the superstars. Again, don't bow down to them. Don't act like they can't. Don't act like they can't like Caitlin Clark's going to come in and be a god on the court. But invite the superstars. The more superstars get into that league, the better it is going to be. And that could be Angel Reese could be a superstar. And what's the girl's name? The big tall blonde girl that
Cameron.
Yes.
Something or other. Cameron Brink.
Brink.
Yeah.
She could be a superstar. And you already have some superstars in the league. The more superstars, the better. You don't need to be taking out these players because you don't like the fanfare they are receiving. They're receiving it for a reason. And the more fanfare they receive, the better it is for everybody.
Well, and that's the problem. That's the problem that's going on right now with this league, right? They have stars in the league, obviously, but they've never seen someone like a star to the level that Caitlin Clark has brought into this league. And they just don't know how to handle it. Right. Because I said right now they just look jealous and catty. Why are all the eyes on her? Why is it just because of her? And because if it wasn't for her, sorry, nobody would be watching the WNBA.
It's just and she just she does deliver in a little bit of a different way than other players have. I mean, like you haven't seen a ton of like logo threes in the NBA.
Yeah.
You haven't seen a ton. I mean, people like watching Caitlin Clark for the same reason people like watching Steph Curry.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
like, I don't know, fucking Sue Bird isn't doing that.
Well, what's her face in the press conference? Like, what does she bring? Just 3-pointers and what else? But that's what people like.
Yes.
So what are you talking about? That's why it's the only reason people watch Steph Curry is because the minute he lets the ball go, you feel like it's going in. And that's how Caitlin Clark is.
Right.
And so I don't know. I don't like I'm not going to fangirl over Caitlin Clark because she's going to have a lot to prove over the course of a pro career.
But it's a fact. It's a fact that the WNBA is more watchable now because of her.
I don't like the jealousy part. I don't like the throwing elbows into her and saying shit in press conferences. Like,
and it's okay. It's okay to admit, though. They should just admit it. Admit it because otherwise it's just a bad look. They don't realize that it's a bad look.
Yep. All right. So listen, we've gone through a lot of stuff, Chad, and it's 10:35. So let's get into our final segment of the week, and then let's get the heck out of here. Let's go into our 3 cheers of the week.
What do you
I'm got? I'm interested. Well, you want me to go first?
Sure.
I have 2. Well, I have 1, and then I have 1 that I think can come from the show.
Just go.
All right. So my first one is just vacation. I'm just cheersing vacations.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Seattle?
I was in the airport for a layover to Alaska.
That's one of my favorite places I've ever been in my whole life. We had fun. We spent half our trip in the city. And then we spent half our trip in an Airbnb out in the woods. Yeah. And I don't know what I liked better. Yeah. But the mountains and the water and the city and the stuff and the things to do in Seattle, man, was just, it was, I think it's one of my favorite places I've ever been in my life.
Isn't there a 5-block radius in Seattle where the police are just like banned? Like it's like the actual purge.
Yeah. Listen, it has its problem, man. We came around a corner. We were in downtown. We came around a corner and it was just the whole street was lined with, what do we call the people? Like the guys
Tent City?
Just completely tweaked out on drugs.
Yeah. Okay.
Like they're doing that like hunched over and just standing there thing. And you're like, I got to walk through this.
Yeah.
So listen, there's a bad homeless problem there and there's a bad drug problem. Drug problem.
No,
at the same time. Every city has its problems, man.
For sure.
Pike Place Market was unbelievable. We had a ton of fun there. We went to a Mariners game. We had a blast. And then out in the woods, man, we rented a house where we just walked down like a path, maybe like 50 feet down.
Yeah.
And they had tables set up and it was just out in the woods. Yeah. And I don't know. I sat out there and watched a Guardians game with a beer next to the river and like, I loved it. So listen, vacations,
I'll be on vacation a week from Friday.
Delaware?
Well, Baltimore first, then Delaware.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I'll save my other one. What's yours?
What's your other one?
Well, so my other one was going to be to our buddy, Jeff Swoboda.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Jeff Swoboda came out with so if you're not familiar with Jeff Swoboda, he is the Jackets beat reporter, Jackets insider on Twitter, and he is a friend of the show and just a friend in general, just a really, really nice guy that we have really enjoyed getting to know over the last few years. And Jeff has battled cancer in the past, and he made a post that said his cancer had returned. I don't know that he had really even said anything about it.
No, he didn't.
But he's been battling. He had colon cancer, and he had a tumor return, and he's been battling it for the last 6 months. And he's been kicking its ass. And I think was his surgery today?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So he had a surgery today because the chemo was working and they could go in and remove the tumor. And so he's going to be on the road to recovery after his surgery. And hopefully that means he's going to be cancer-free after that. But man, you hate seeing bad things happen to such good people. And Jeff Swoboda is good people to his core. And so I just want to give him a shout out for kicking cancer's ass again. And my sincere, from the entire show, just a speedy recovery, and hopefully this is the last time he ever has to go through this shit.
Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely. Shout out Jeff. My cheers goes to Griffin Bruns. That's it.
All right, cool. See you later, everybody.
Griffin Bruns is the center fielder for the Marion local high school baseball team. And in this, I don't know what level of playoff baseball it was, but they were playing Fort Recovery, and this is down there in Southwest Ohio. Shallow fly by the Fort Recovery hitter was hit out into center field, and it dropped. Like 4 or 5 guys converged on the fly ball, and it dropped. And mass chaos ensued. Nobody was covering second. Nobody was covering third. Nobody was covering home. So Griffin Bruns, the center fielder for the Marion local team, grabbed the ball and ran with it, and noticed nobody was covering any base, and saw the Fort Recovery fella running for home. Griffin Bruns just sprinted, got the angle on this Fort Recovery hitter, and was able to tag him out as he was diving into home plate. Just one of the most heads up plays I've ever seen at any level of baseball. And yeah, cheers to you, man. It should have been a Sports Center top 10 play if it wasn't.
Yeah, it was a Sports Center top 10 play, and it was wild to watch him just take off from center field and just beeline at home, and then dive and tag the kid as he was diving in. That was awesome. So
Marion local was a state powerhouse football team, and I bet you he was on it because everybody in a small fucking town plays football. But the fact that he just made that heads up play, sprinted, and was able to get him out was awesome. It was just awesome.
That was awesome. All right, those are our cheers of the week. Our last cheer of the week will go out to you guys, though, for joining us tonight. That's going to do it for episode 215 of the Garage Beers podcast. We hope you guys had a great time hanging out with us tonight. It was just good to be back. We should have the full crew back next week, and now we're working on a slate of special guests. And so make sure you tune in over at the Garage Beers on the socials for news and updates on special guests that we're going to have. We got some football special guests lined up. We got some baseball special guests lined up. And we've even got maybe some fun ones that aren't related to either one. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. Make sure you get over. We're just going to do our thank yous here. Our first thank you goes out to the OBR for hosting us. Make sure you get over to theobr.com and follow them. Make sure you are over at the socials at the OBR and you're following the OBR for all the best Browns coverage, and then to hang out with us and talk about all Cleveland and Ohio and other sports every single week. The OBR, again, the Orange and Brown Report, our home, proud to be a member of the OBR. So make sure you're tuned into them. And our big thank you, our big cheers of the week goes out to all of you, whether you joined us live here tonight or whether you're going to listen to us later on the podcast version or watch us later. We appreciate you. We love you. We love the support. And we can't wait to do this every single week and hang out with you guys on Tuesday nights. We really, really appreciate you. So that's going to do it for episode 215 tonight. Again, Joey wasn't here, but we'll give him a shout out anyways. Go follow Joey Whalen at Garage Beers Joe. For Chad Meyer over there on the east side of Cleveland at Garage Beers Chad, I'm Michael Keefe at Garage Beers Mike. Go follow the show at The Garage Beers on all the socials and tell your friends. Get more people in here to hang out with us. The more, the merrier. Until next week for episode 216, though, thank you for joining us for this one, and cheers, everybody.